Hi, friends, and welcome to a very different episode of For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. This is an episode that's going to celebrate myself and Paddy's national holiday, St. Patrick's Day, the day that everybody gets bladdered drunk, pretends they're Irish, and then has to worry about going to work the next day. That's usually what happens in Ireland anyway. But we're coming to talk to you today. We're going to have a few Irish Villa fans. We're going to have a bit of a different feeling to the podcast today. Some Villa fans that are Irish living around the world, and also some Villa fans that have a connection with Ireland. So it's going to be a nice and different and kind of relaxed little podcast today. I was going to tell you guys about the origin of St. Patrick and about Paddy's Day, as we call it, and not St. Paddy's Day like the Americans call it. Call it that. You're on the no-fly list. You're not getting in here. We'll take your Irish passports if you have one. And if you don't, you're still not getting into the country anyway. It's Paddy's Day or St. Patrick's Day, and there's nothing in between. But far be it from me to tell you that we have our very own St. Patrick, and he's going to tell you why it's called Paddy's Day and not Patty's Day, because it's named after him, the wonderful Paddy Kelly. How are you doing today?
Good evening, Neil. I'm well. And to the best of my knowledge, Patty is a woman, and that's why it annoys everybody so much. Perhaps one of our American guests will tell us in a few minutes.
Maybe so. I just think it's because Patrick, Patty, I don't know, but it's Paddy anyways. It's the D's and no T's, not for that was, it's just the way it is. Okay, so just take it from us, and that's the way it's going to be. But as I said, it's going to be a bit of a different podcast. You'll notice that we're wearing green today, obviously green for St. Patrick's Day, and a small bit of paddy whackery. I had a can of Guinness. I was going to drink it in the podcast. If somebody out there can hear that I was supposed to drink a pint of Guinness in the podcast, they might do me a favor and drop it to the door.
No, deaf ears.
It's worth a try anyway.
I don't think the dog can master that skill yet, Neil.
You'd be surprised. He can tell the time, so you'd be surprised. But anyway,
if he can open a can of Guinness and pour it for you, he's going on Ireland's Got Talent next year.
Do you know what? I'd take him straight up to St. James's Gate Brewery and audition him for the Guinness ads myself. That's what I'll do instead. Ireland's Got Talent. There's no money in that. Guinness will pay a fortune to have a dog drinking pints. That's all they're short of. But anyway, less of our ramblings. Paddy, will we bring out one of our guests today, one of our Villa fans abroad, will we?
Absolutely.
Why not? Everybody, introducing Kevin Hunter from the Boston AVFC Supporters Club. Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm good, Neil. I'm good, Paddy. Happy St. Patrick's Day from across the pond. Hope you're keeping well.
Excellent. We absolutely are. And Kevin, that isn't a Bostonian accent, That's definitely, there's a touch in New England off that at all, unfortunately. Where is that accent from?
That's a Belfast born and bred accent, Neil. Been over here, though, nearly 10 years now, but I haven't lost the accent, thankfully. So, yeah, I first came over in 2008 for a couple of years and then went back to Belfast and then moved back over 6 years ago now. So, well settled in Boston. My wife's American and she's a fully fledged Villa fan. You'll be glad to know now. So yeah, all going well.
Excellent. Is there going to be any parade over there in Boston this year? What's the story with lockdowns and stuff like that? I know the thing
cancelled again, Neil, for the second year in a row, unfortunately. So things are starting to open up a little here. Some of the capacity restrictions and the closing times and stuff are open. So there's a little local Irish bar, Tommy Doyle's, that we'll nip to tomorrow evening for a couple of pints. But look, it's just the way the world is at the minute, isn't it? That things have to be done a little more refined this year, unfortunately. But let's hope next year we'll get back to the St. Paddy's Parade, which is quite a big one in Boston, as you can imagine.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Look, I the jealousy on my face. I'm nearly green envy keeping the green team because of the fact that you can go to a pub tomorrow and I can't.
I know it's bad when I hear some of that, when I speak to family and stuff back home in Ireland, that how bad you guys have got it compared to us. So we can't complain too much. But look, it's just the way it is, and let's hope there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, which it seems to be creeping in anyway.
They're doing takeaway pints in my local pub anyway, so
there you go. That's the next best thing.
Yeah, the barman will run them up to your house and everything. It's fantastic. You don't even have to leave.
Brilliant.
Points on wheels.
Go for Paddy, sorry.
I said points on wheels.
Points on wheels, absolutely. Yeah, there's a charity I can get behind.
It's actually lovely to speak to Kevin at a respectable hour, because the last few times I've spoken to him was on an American Zoom call where I was quite drunk sitting at my kitchen table, and one night in particular, the sun was starting to come up and I was still there at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was then I realised I had to go to bed.
I was going to say I can remember that, but I wasn't. I was a bit worse for myself in my time. So yeah, that was a good one. But yeah, likewise, Paddy, good to always catch up.
It's great to talk to you guys in the North American Lions, I suppose, overarching Lions Club. We've had Rick Leong on the podcast before, and obviously Brett Bates is like he above in Toronto. He was supposed to be hosting the get together, the North American get together, and he had wrote me in to go, and I was delighted to go, and I'm looking forward to going in the future. But you guys have a fantastic club going over there, and there's just tons and tons. It seems to be growing and growing. What size is your own club over there in Boston? Is there a good few members?
Yeah, it's incredible that, just to go back on your first comment, in general, the size of the connections out here in North America is incredible. I mean, we've had meetups in Chicago, Austin, Texas, San Francisco. I think the last one was over 200 people. We obviously got together when the team came over to Minnesota last year as well. So our Boston club, it can be hit and miss, to be honest, guys. Some weeks we would have maybe 20 plus, and other weeks you'd have maybe 10 or 15. Obviously pre-COVID, we used to drink in the Rising Bar out in Cambridge, which is a nice Irish bar, which unfortunately has had to close due to COVID. So we're on the search for a new local. But it's fantastic. I mean, there's locals in it. There's a few Irish guys. There's English. There's a real good camaraderie about us. We get together early before the game, have a couple of pints and breakfast, watch the game. Usually tend to stay out after, win, lose, or draw, as you can imagine. So, yourself being away from home and getting together with fellow fans, there's nothing better for it. But hoping to get back over to games now. I was actually at the cup final last year. At Wembley was the last time it was over. So, fingers crossed. I've earmarked Christmas this year, all being well, to try and get back, and let's hope fans are back in Villa Park at that stage.
Yeah, and you mentioned Villa Park. I think looking at the lineup that we've got here, I think I was the only one who couldn't get to Wembley last year for the cup final. To my shame, I couldn't get over for the cup final. It was actually an interesting story. I was doing MC for a boxing tournament, would you believe? Right. So that's why I couldn't get over. So I was doing my let's get ready to rumbles and stuff like that. And that was actually the last time I drank a pint in a pub. Prior to coronavirus was after that. That event. So it's
it seems a lifetime ago now. Thinking back, even from a football perspective, the shape we were in this time last year. I mean, it's incredible. I think we were dead and buried, weren't we, at that stage? So on the pitch and off the pitch, a lot has changed. Yeah,
absolutely. And Kevin, you mentioned you're originally from Belfast, and obviously you found your way over stateside. Well, where did the obsession with Aston Villa come from?
So I was born in 1987. So my first real interest in football would have been World Cup '94 in the US. So obviously with Staunton, McGrath, Houghton, Townsend. Coupled with that, weirdly, I had an obsession with little football figures when I was growing up. So I used to have a Gary Mabbutt Spurs one and a Kevin Richardson Aston Villa one. My mum and dad said I was obsessed with the Kevin Richardson one, wouldn't let go of it, loved the colour. So that coupled with the Irish connection, and then I've just been absolutely Villa obsessed since. My whole family are all Leeds fans, believe it or not, so I dodged the bullet for that one. So
lucky escape.
It was a lucky escape, but bragging rights a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I've just been Villa obsessed ever since. And when I lived back home, I used to get over to games quite regularly. So I do miss that aspect of it, but I mean, living in the US is fantastic. And as I said, we have a big Villa family here where we all get together when possible. So yeah, that's where it came from. So USA 94 and then the strange Gary Mabbutt v Kevin Richardson figurine battle.
Something very serendipitous about that you first started really getting into football about USA 94, and now you're in the USA. Maybe it had that much of a profound effect that I don't know, Houghton's long range shot over Aluka in Giant Stadium.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, as you said, it's quite eerie that all sort of how life works out. And now I'm based over here, but yeah, I'll remember that one for a while, the 1-0 against Italy. But yeah, as I said, I think there's you guys as well. We know as well as I do the strong Villa connection that there is in Ireland. So it's great to see.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought you were going to say it was serendipitous that I was sitting here in my USA 94 Ireland strip today.
I noticed that as soon as it came on. I noticed it. I thought it was tying quite well. I had a feeling you might ask where my little links came from. So you would think we set that up, didn't we? But we didn't.
It was interesting when Paddy sent me on beforehand. He goes, I think I'll have to wear my Staunton 11 Ireland jersey for today. And then I went looking for a lot of my shirts are up in the attic in backpack bags and stuff like that. All I had was the third kit from last year. And when I went to put it on, the dog was lying on it, and I went, I could probably get away with it, but so I just threw on what I've got. But at least I got my leprechaun hat anyway. My lucky leprechaun. This hat is actually a lucky hat. Sometimes I wear it when we play, and we tend to win. So, it is my lucky leprechaun hat.
Do you have? Is there many friends back in Belfast that were Villa fans growing up, or were you on your own?
No, we actually my best friend Sean McDade, I'll give him a shout out. He was actually best man at my wedding last year. He's a big Villa fan as well. He's originally from Coleraine and he moved to Belfast. I have another friend who's actually now moved to Australia, but originally from Belfast. So there was quite a few of us, Paddy, there was that core group of 3 or 4 that would have went over to games maybe once or twice a month when we could. I actually played a bit of football myself, so it was difficult to get over on Saturdays. But yeah, we had a few of us, but we were strange, going up through school, the typical, Man United, the Liverpools of this world, and the sort of abuse you received on a Monday morning, getting back in after the weekend. So hopefully things are turning a bit for us now. But yeah, there was a good few in Belfast that would have been Villa fans.
You mentioned Liverpool and Man U. You have a bit of respect for another team in red, which is not too far from where you grew up, I believe.
Cliftonville, yes, I'm a big Cliftonville fan now. I still follow them each week. As I say, things at the minute maybe aren't going as well. It's quite a tight league this year in the Irish League, but yeah, I've always followed Cliftonville growing up. Actually, I played a little bit for Lisburn Distillery as well in the Irish League, but always had a soft spot for Cliftonville growing up. So you'll have seen a few of my posts on Facebook when things were a bit rosier in the Garden at Solitude. But yeah, but Villa are the number one for sure.
Yeah,
what year did you play with?
Sorry, go on.
What year did you play with Lisburn Distillery? Because I have every football and championship manager going back to the late 90s. I'll find you. I'll make you win the Champions League.
It didn't quite make the football manager year, so I was 16 till I was 20, and then I moved over to the US to do a bit of coaching and to play well over in the US. So I was there for 4 years, on the peripheral of the first team in and around it. But yeah, as I said, that they would have been Lisburn Distillery. I'm originally from Dunmurry in Belfast, so that would have been my sort of local team. But a lot of friends that are Cliftonville friends, and that was where that sort of connection. So I've always had a soft spot, and despite the 3,000 miles across the Atlantic, I still try to keep up to date with the mighty Reds.
It's one of the best named teams as well. I'll get behind any team with distillery in their name. That's definitely one for me. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on. I can't. I'm trying to even figure out what time it is over there at the moment. It's about 4:30, I think. Or
4:30. Yeah, our clock's changed, so there's a 4-hour difference. So I'm technically still on the clock for work. So let's hope my employers don't stumble across this podcast.
Guys, the GoFundMe for Kevin is going to be in the podcast notes if it gets so I'll be right here. Donate whatever you can. Kevin, thanks a million for popping on. It was great to meet you. Keep the flag flying over there in Boston. Mm-hmm. And you lucky thing, you get to go and have pints in an actual pub tomorrow. I will forever be envious.
Exactly. Neil, thanks so much for having me. And as I said, hopefully when things settle down and it's safe, hopefully get you guys across. I know you mentioned the next meetup potentially in Toronto, Neil, so it'd be great if we could get you guys over. Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely, no problem.
Good to see you, Kevin. Mind yourself.
Thanks, guys.
That was excellent. It was great to chat to Kevin there, and see what it's like in Boston, and see, I genuinely am envious of the fact that he's going to be able to get to a pub tomorrow. But as I say,
I'm envious of lots of things because I just had a sliding doors moment there because in 2003 I spent a few weeks in Boston eyeing up a job and I eventually turned it down. 2004. So myself and Kevin could have been meeting up in Boston watching Villa games, but for other decisions. So here we are.
But for other decisions, exactly. Next, let's invite someone on again next, and this man is going to be in his own bar. I think, at the bottom of his own garden. Not only are we graced with barman extraordinaire, but also one of the finest crooners you'll ever hear walking his dog. Welcoming to the podcast right now, Kieran O Callaghan, everybody. Kieran O Callaghan of B6 Ben fame. I was going to say, usually you'll catch him on Ben's podcast, but he's popped on here tonight to talk to us. How are you doing, Kieran?
I'm very well. It's a terrible rumour that I have a bar in the garden, because if I did, I wouldn't talk about it, Neil. I wouldn't talk about it.
How are you doing anyway, Kieran? As I said, we've become very, very good mates, and we're always chatting and stuff like that on Twitter, and yourself and Ben have been very good to this podcast as well, and obviously the Irish connections there that you have, or Callan being an Irish name. Where do those connections come from, and what's the story behind your Irish connections, Kieran?
Many early 50s. My dad come over from Cork looking for work, and he moved into Handsworth, which is just up the road from Villa Park. And around the same time, my mum moved over from Newry in County Down. She came over looking for work and moved into Handsworth. They both met at a Saturday night dance, and the rest is history. There's 3 of us born within a few years. I'm the last shake of the orchard, as my dad used to describe me.
That's something only an Irish man could say.
Yeah. Definitely. So we were brought up in Aston, in Pure Road, Aston, which is just literally half a mile from Villa Park. And then we moved to Castlevale. And Aston at the time and Handsworth and was all very, very, very big Irish community. And then when they all moved to Castlevale, which was a new estate, there was an awful lot of Irish people moved onto there as well. So the whole of Erdington and Castlevale was, everybody kind of knew each other, and there's most of them are Villa fans, but there are a sprinkling of the other side, 1 or 2 knocking around, but most of them are Villa fans. And I've grown up with the same friends that I had from when I was really, really small. I've still got the same friends now, very close.
Yeah. It's great, the way, like, I spent a good bit of time in London when I was younger as well, in a big Irish community with my uncles, and everything about it was fantastic. The way they looked after each other, and the women would mind each other's kids, and the men went out to work, and it was tough times, but great times. Yeah. And a lot of people forget all the hard work that went back in those days to rebuilding the UK and England in general after the war, and a lot of Irish people emigrated there to pick up that, especially the labouring work that went on at the time. So
there was no work back in Ireland at the time at all. Well, my dad was
absolutely
one of, I think there was 8 of them. There was 8 of them, and they all, apart from the one sister, they all moved to different parts of the world, and a lot of them come to Birmingham because that's where all the work was at the time with all the building.
Mm. And whereabouts in Cork was your father from, Kieran?
In a place, I hope I'm going to say this right now because I've been there several times, Granabraher. Yeah. Have I said that right?
One of the most famous police stations in Ireland is in Granabraher. Yeah. when something goes wrong in Cork, that's where all the criminals are taken to.
I can guarantee you Roy Keane was probably spent a few nights inside Granabraher.
My dad knew Roy Keane's dad. He used to tell me all the time. He says he wasn't a very nice man. I'm not surprised by that, to be fair.
No, Mayfield and Granabraher would be I think they're close enough there in Cork. Yeah, they're very close in Cork, and actually an unbelievable footballing hotbed. When we were playing Munster Senior or the Munster Junior Cup and the FAI Cup, a lot of the times we got drawn against Mayfield and places like that, so we'd have to go down and play them. But just a lot of good footballers came out of there. So it's it does have a lot of tradition, a lot of history. It's not just famous for Roy Keane. I can't name any of the rest of them off the top of my head, but I know there's been a couple of more professional footballers come out of that area too as well. So it is quite a big footballing area.
I believe Kieran, you had a very special journey today to a very special place.
I did. I went back to the church of Villa Park today, and I had my vaccine done. I'm actually starting to feel a little bit rough now. I've got the Hattie Jakes, as they say now. I'm a little bit hot and cold, and I'm shivering. I'm looking forward to getting back to my bed when I get home from work. But yeah, it was good to be there, and surprisingly, it was very, very well organised, and there wasn't. I mean, you know how big their Holt Suite is. Yeah. It was really spaced out, really comfortable, very, very, very much in control. I thought it might have been a little bit people crowded in there just to queue in, but it was all very, very controlled, and no one's got anything to worry about going there. Nothing to worry about at all.
Excellent. I've seen that ago, but actually it seems the general consensus is that it's been run very well, and it's actually a bit of a treat to get back there, isn't it? When it's been so long, everybody is sharing their photos outside the whole.
Do you know what it feels like, Paddy? It feels like you're one step towards going into a proper live match. That's how it feels. One step towards it.
Absolutely, and I think we're all just crying out for that at this stage. That, you know, I think if we could do drive-by vaccinations, we'd all have our arm out the window of the car, just to get back to Villa Park. And you know, I think we can speak for everybody. It's been a long old haul, so
it has.
And it's going to be longer for us because the government have more or less told us it'll be the end of the year before we can leave the country. But look, we'll brave it out, and we'll look forward to having a few points with you and meeting Ben when we get over.
Oh, absolutely, and you know, I can't wait to get over there and meet up with you guys. That's on my bucket list now. It's on my bucket list. I'm sure I won't be alone when I come over either. There'll be a few more of us Irish Brummies coming with me.
Once every 5 to 7 years, usually Ireland come and play pre-season, do a little pre-season tour, at least play one pre-season game in Ireland. So, Villa come and play one pre-season game in Ireland. So, we'll have to. If it happens in the near future, there's going to be one hell of a hoolie somewhere, and there's a man going to be coming on later on that I'm gonna task with finding a nice pub in Dublin, and I'm sure he knows a couple of them.
I think it's long overdue. I think it's 7 years now since they came over when they played Shamrock Rovers. So it's long. I remember Villa used to come every year back in the early 90s, 91, 92, 93. They came every year, and it was fantastic because they only lived just up the road. So it's long overdue. We're due an all Irish Lions weekender to get everybody together and have a bit of crack.
I actually find it surprising how many Villa fans there are in Ireland, and I know they're in the minority when you compare them to the Man Uniteds and the Liverpools and the Chelseas. But it's a strong Lions supporters club, isn't it? And you know, there's lots of them hidden away all over Ireland.
Yeah, there is. I think collectively. Well, I think Leinster on its own is the biggest supporters club in the world. Mm-hmm. So collectively, we're definitely the biggest. It's definitely the biggest Lions club. So there's lots of us. Most of us of a certain age that remembers those early 90s when we had that huge Irish contingent, and thankfully we had it, and me personally gets to have people my own age to go and enjoy Villa with. And hopefully the day is coming that we look at a younger group coming through because of our hopefully upcoming success.
I've thought in the past, Paddy, when I've been listening to you and you're saying about your season ticket, and I'm like, how much does it cost him a season for the season ticket and the flights and the beer and the food and the taxis and the trains? It must cut. I bet your wife doesn't know, does she?
She probably paid for it
just to get rid of you for the weekend.
Well, you know, it's an expensive habit. That's the way I look at it. But the enjoyment far outweighs, you know, the expense. For me, Aston Villa has given me my best friends in the world. You know, the people who I can trust and rely on, and you know, we might see a couple of them on here in the next while. You know, the people that I speak to every day, you know, like the likes of Philip Drew and James Mahon, we talk every day, absolutely every day, about Villa and our lives and everything that's going on, and we support each other. And, you know, Villa fans are incredible. I remember my first ever trip, and I remember getting back to the hotel with my dad and saying, "Are they all very friendly here?" And he says, "I think it's just because you're a Villa fan. If you'd have gone the other side of town, they mightn't have been so friendly." But that is the overriding thing about Brummies are they're friendly. you know, you can go a lot of places up and down the UK and wouldn't feel as homely as you do in Birmingham. I just think Villa fans are fantastic, and you know, we should celebrate that too. We beat ourselves up a good bit for fighting with each other from time to time, but Villa fans in general are just fantastic.
I can't disagree there. I can't, and that, like, speaking on behalf of Ben, the support he gets from the Villa Twitter fan bases and the Facebook fan base, it's just incredible. Really is. Really, I don't know if you've seen it, but he's doing his cycling challenge at the moment.
Yes,
where he's doing 15k for 15 days during March. He's up to £1,350 something pound. From his target was £100, and that's incredible for a 15-year-old lad. It's just incredible the support he gets. I'm just really proud of it.
It's absolutely fantastic because, you know, between yourself and Ben, it's almost like you guys are addicted to raising money for the foundation and raising money for charities, because you guys have plowed a lot of money into things. And even that lovely gesture you did for the Ghana Lions, you know, sending them out mugs and stuff like that, you know, it's just some fantastic gestures that you guys have done. So if anybody is watching and listening,
that's not to get anything back though, guys. That's
course
to give something. Because it makes Ben, that place does, that whole club makes Ben what he is, and it's
absolutely
we have a club to be proud of,
and we can relate to that as well, because it's, you know, we run Lions clubs for the benefit of other Villa fans, so they can go and experience what we've experienced for the last how many years, and you get nothing but thanks for it, and getting the thanks for it is worth everything to us, because. You know, I've had guys for the last. I've been involved with the Irish Lions since the early 90s, and you're getting off a plane in Dublin and there's people shaking your hand, and their hands are trembling with excitement from what a great weekend they've had, and you know, they're saying to you, you know, we wouldn't have been able to put this together and you know, book the hotels and know where to get tickets and all that kind of thing. And Lions clubs are invaluable for people like that who have never been before, and. You know, if you're listening here today, you should definitely look up where your Lions Club is, because there's some great people in there that really look after you. And you know, it's a very unselfish job. You need to be unselfish, and you know, people respect you for it. It's rewarding on that way to see the happiness in other people's eyes, to be able to experience that. And like I've brought guys to games where we've lost 4-0 and 5-0, and they've still absolutely loved it. They've loved meeting all the new people and the new friends that they've had. It's fantastic, and you know, it's a great old network and a great club.
Absolutely,
we're blessed,
Kieran. We are absolutely blessed to be Aston Villa fans. Kieran, we're going to let you go. I hope you feel better soon. I hope that you know that the shakes kind of dissipate, but you know,
I might have a little tinny before I go to bed, guys. I might have a little tinny before I go to bed.
Sure, why not?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Listen, Kieran, thank you so much for your time tonight. It's fantastic to get to talk to you. Stay in touch as always, and have a great Paddy's Day tomorrow.
Cheers, guys. Up the Villa and Sláinte.
Up the Villa.
Right. Excellent. That's Kieran from B6 Ben fame and his own fame as well. I don't know, you know, he's famous Ben in his own right. You know, as I say, I didn't get a chance to ask him, does he take requests, or will he take a request for his dog walking sing along? I completely forgot all about it. It left my mind. But you know, Paddy, you spoke an awful lot there about Lions clubs, and people should look up for Lions clubs, and I think that's a nice little segue for us to bring in our next our next guest from the newest Irish Lions Club satellite club. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely, yeah. It's basically what we do here in Ireland is we have the 4 provinces basically, and you know, if somebody wants to set up a Lions Club within that, we have somebody who looks after each Lions Club for each province. And then we have satellite clubs within each province, which is great. So if you have an isolated bunch that can't get to Dublin or Cork or Limerick or Galway or Belfast to get to watch games with others, you could set up your own satellite club, and you know, it works very well for us all.
Excellent. And without further ado, let's bring in Diarmuid Byrne from the Longford Lions, Longford Lions Club here in Longford in Ireland. Diarmuid, very great to see you. How are you keeping?
Good to see you. How are you? Happy Paddy's Day.
Happy Paddy's Day, Diarmuid. Good to see you too.
So as we say, you guys are one of the newest Lions clubs, especially in Ireland at the moment. In Longford, as I say, Longford is a Midlands town for some of the people that don't know the geography or the topography of Ireland. And, when Paddy was saying it, when I've seen all the action that you guys have in your Facebook group, which I would advise people to go look up because there's tons of stuff that goes in there. But there's a good group of you guys there, Diarmuid, isn't there?
Yeah, there's around 35 of us so far, so hopefully we'll get a lot more. In the pandemic, look, we decided to get this together in January. Now, I've known 40% of this group for 15 years or more, and we were, I suppose, getting bored sitting at home trying to find things to do, so we'd start WhatsApping each other, and I started off with 3 guys to 4 guys, and I just came up with a brainwave one night. Why don't I just try to get a Lions Longford group together? Mm-hmm. We don't have one. There's nothing in the Midlands. So I reached out to Philip and Paddy, and they've been just absolutely amazing with support and how to word things on the Facebook page, not making a tit of myself. And it's, they've been brilliant. They've been brilliant.
Don't worry, Diarmuid. We've made bits of ourselves for the last year. No matter what you do, we'll take the heat off you. It's absolutely fine. Should look, I'm wearing this hat in the middle of a live stream. But so you mentioned it was 30. There was about 30 of you guys. That's a good number, That's a fantastic number considering. And it's not a huge town, Longford Town. What it is, it's a big footballing town though. So it's Longford Town, obviously a league violin club here in Ireland as well, and it is football mad, really, I suppose, because you definitely don't play much hurling around there anyway. So it's
no.
It's all using your feet anyway to do stuff. But would most of the guys, would you guys ever go over to games? Have you gone over to games? I was going to say recently, but you know what I mean.
As individually, I was born and reared in Mullingar. I'd spent a lot of time abroad in the States, Italy, Spain, with my profession being in the hospitality. So when I got back, a lot of my friends were all United and Liverpool, and it took me to 2002 to get over to a Villa game, and my first game was in Anfield, in the Cop. Okay. All my mates felt sorry for me, being a Villa supporter, that they brought me over. And I had my jersey on me, green as could be, going into a stadium, told to close it up, don't show your colours, look at the Cop. And that day, Dion Dublin scored a penalty. And I was biting my fists. They were praying I wouldn't open my mouth to get us all killed. But great experience.
You were lucky, so by going to did Villa win that day, or did win one?
We drew. Michael Owen scored first, and then Dion Dublin's got a penalty. So that was my first experience to see Villa. I got there 12 months later after that, back to Villa Park, and I try to go once a year. Sometimes it's been hitting into. You're looking at two years before you get over, but yeah, it's a great experience to walk in there.
I was going to say you were lucky you didn't go any time earlier, because literally if you went Anfield for Villa versus Liverpool, all you'd get was Robbie Fowler hat-trick and come home absolutely desolate. Yeah, because that's all here. That he just loved playing Aston Villa. Robbie Fowler. So it's I remember. It's interesting you say that. Like I remember. Midweek games were specifically the worst. It's kind of like we are now. We just couldn't win midweek games. And I remember listening to them on 5 Live on the radio below in my bedroom, and literally 6 minutes in, Robbie Fowler's first goal, and you just go, "Oh my God!" And then I'm trying to do my homework from school, and I'm listening to this on a crappy radio that's only half tuned in. It was one of those ones that, because we live very rurally and there was a lot of farmers around us, there was an electric fence around our house. Yeah. And the electric fence, every time the electric fence was earthed somewhere outside, and all you'd hear is the tick, tick, tick coming through on the radio. Yeah. I don't know how it happened, but it used to drive me mad for about 8 years of my life. But listening to football matches from when I was about 8 years of age till I was about 16, that's all I could hear was that tick, tick. I've got PTSD from it, I think, from electric fence. But wouldn't change it for the world, because Guy Whittingham could score a tap in against Sheffield Wednesday, and in the back of my mind, he was after pinging one in from 40 yards. So that's the wonder of, I suppose, of listening on the radio is that those midweek games you might get seen them a match of the day because they mightn't have been shown, but you could make up whatever you want from it. And the big thing was that just if Villa won or whatever. But so it was 2002 you got over, I had a question there, but it's gone completely out of my mind. Paddy, rescue me. Have you any questions? I can't remember.
When you get over for the home game, who did we play then?
We played Norwich.
Norwich.
Yeah, we played Norwich. And you know what? I don't remember a thing of the game. I was that pissed. I don't. Not a bit do I remember the game. But it was a great experience. It was a great time. Just getting around Birmingham. I remember we stayed in Jury's, and there was a nightclub across the road. It was an old church, if I remember.
It is. Yeah, it's been there for many years.
Yeah,
I think it's called Flares now.
Yeah, that's some night in there. But my bite memory of Villa, it go back to when you say about Paddy's Day in March. I was just turning 18, and it was the 14th of March 1993, and I had 4 days to go before I turned 18. And I coming from Mullingar, I found a haunt. We used to go in and watch all the games, and the guys knew me going in. They didn't bat an eyelid with being 17 then. But I wore my jersey in, and they were playing United. And in the second half, Stevie Staunton scored a cracker of a goal. And of course, me being naive, jumped out of my seat, started shouting, roaring on Stevie Staunton. I was thrown out of the pub. I was the only Villa supporter in the pub.
Was that the one that came out to him at the edge? Was that the one that came out to him at the edge of the area and just arrowed it into the top corner? Yeah, that was a banger. Yeah, you were dead right. It's worth getting thrown out of a
Paul McGrath. I don't think Paul McGrath ran as fast in his life going up the right wing to put the ball into him. It was brilliant.
That made it more special that day, didn't it? Paul
McGrath it was brilliant.
Marauding down the wing with the ball, and you're going, "What is going on here?"
Never happened.
Back all these years later. Oh, that's striking.
Well, I was pulled out of the pub. Yeah, I was pulled out of the pub for on it, but I got to know the guy who owns the pub, and we cuckle at it now. Why he put me out? Because he said there was 60 United heads in there, and I was jumping around this Villa jersey. Never heard of a Villa supporter in Mullingar. He said, I had to put you out before you're going to get killed. So it was funny.
But he probably put you out for the Villa. He put you out at the right time anyway, because they scored shortly after.
Brilliant. I never got to see the rest of the game to this day.
Well, you did. You got the best bit of the game anyway. That's for sure. Yeah. I still say it's the best goal Villa have ever scored. But I'd be a little bit biased, being a big Steve Staunton fan. It runs very close to John McGinn's goal against Sheffield Wednesday a couple of years ago, which I think is the best one I've ever seen. But
not Jack's against Derby.
No, John McGinn's was.
That was a good goal. Yeah, but John's was good.
Yeah.
Steve Staunton's from corner. This is a podcast in itself.
It's
daily.
Sure. I scored from corners. Anyone can do that.
Yeah. And a gusty day after 14 pints the night before. Yeah, anyone can do it. Exactly. Yeah. But no, that is actually there's a topic for a podcast actually. Best goals, best Aston Villa goals. And that would be quite a cool one, because as you say, it's like opinions. Everyone's going to have a completely different one. For me, I would think Jack Grealish's goal against Derby was an absolute banger. But like McGinn's was fantastic as well, and a Steve Staunton one too. But I think
for me, the McGinn one was so special because we were there that day and we were behind the goal, and it's just the noise of it hitting the crossbar and going down. It's just take your breath away, because it's such an amazing strike. It's quite similar to the Steve Staunton one. But we'll save those for another day. No doubt, Neil.
Exactly. Diarmuid, do you want to give a plug to the Longford Lions Club there, just in case there's anybody in our own Midlands that haven't heard of you? Because it's not just for Longford, it's for everywhere.
Yeah, check us out. you'll find us at Longford Lions on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. It's a bunch of guys that got together, passionate about Villa. We just put our different posts in every day, talking about different experiences, different things we can remember or haven't seen, and it's a bit of fun. We can't get out to meet all in the pub, which we all can't wait to get back and do. And that's the thing that we're all churning with the 35 that we have there. We have a few, I think we have 2 from Birmingham, 1 from California, 1 from New York, all Longfortonians
Brilliant.
that are in there. So it's great to see. So check us out, join us, come in and have the banter with us for the matches, and hopefully we'll all get back to VP and have a good time soon.
Exactly. Absolutely. Listen, Diarmuid, thank you very much for giving up your time to pop on. Hope you have a fantastic day tomorrow, whatever you do. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm sure you'll even take fellas from Leitrim and from places like that if they're willing to travel. So
anywhere. What did you say? Drumnish, wasn't it? Drumnish?
Clongwish, I think it is. You take fellas from Clongwish, there.
I'll take a few from there.
Excellent.
I'll
pass it your way. Excellent.
We'll
Thank you so much.
Diarmuid, when it's safe to do so, we'll be up for a piss up in. Trying to keep it PC. This we go. Can't be coursing. We'll be up for a few drinks for the.
Absolutely. Hopefully, get down to meet you guys as well.
Absolutely.
Welcome. Excellent. Thanks very much, Diarmuid. That's great. It's great to see new clubs being set up. It's and spreading the kind of the love for it and keeping people interested in around Ireland, because it's all well and good having one in Galway, Cork, Limerick, Dublin, and stuff like that. But for people who can't travel, what happens is that if what I'm sure is going to happen in Diarmuid's club there is that people are going to bring their kids and they're going to become Villa fans. They're going to keep the Villa tradition going, because if you can't travel to a meetup like that or something, it gets it becomes a small bit of fun, and even the kids can get involved in the community and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that it always has to be pub based or whatever, but you kind of know what I'm getting at, that it can be a day out, and people can go and watch the match and become become more staunch Villa fans when they're younger, I suppose. That's fantastic to see, because 35 people in a place like Longford is mind blowing. Like, it's absolutely mind blowing.
Absolutely. You look at capital cities around Europe that struggle to get that amount in to watch a game. Yeah. So it's fantastic. It is unfortunate that it's based around the pub, but unfortunately, it's the best place to go and watch a game. And it's, as you say, I'm sure we'll talk about it later on, but my own son is now grown up with that culture of meeting in the Lions Club and getting to know the characters that are in there, and it's good crack. So,
do you know what? I'll let him speak for himself. How's about we bring him on?
Sure, why not?
The heir, here we go. The heir to the throne. Speak for yourself, Stephen. What's it like going to the pub with your father to watch Villa?
Great.
See, I said Paddy on a screenshot today to say what caption I was going to put in underneath your name, and I just put it in there: the heir to the throne, heir to the Munster Aston Villa supporters Lions Club throne. That's what you are. With great. You were born into this. I don't expect you to fully understand it, Stephen, but you were born into this, and it's just the cross that you're going to have to carry for the rest of your life, that you are the heir to the throne. And how does that feel?
You just have to get on with it, like.
That's a great response.
Fairness, Stephen, the boots are only small that you have to feel, so you'll be fine. The burning question here is: are you going to let Neil away with spelling your name incorrectly?
Did I spell it? Oh, I did too. Oh well. Sorry, Stephen.
I can't even pronounce that one.
Staypen.
Yeah, Staypen. Yeah, Staypen.
He's been called worse.
I should have just put you down as Steve. It would have been a lot easier. Apologies, fat fingers. That's what I've got. I got fat fingers. But anyway, moving swiftly along from spelling mistakes.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Stephen. The people can now put a name and a voice to the and I know you don't even listen yourself at times, but people can put a name and a voice to or a face and a voice to the person I'm talking about when I mention the little pearls of wisdom that you come out with on match day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Stephen, Paddy was telling me about a game that he went to on Paddy's Day. It was in and around Paddy's Day, and I think it was the first game that you went to. But we know that Paddy always tells lies in the podcast anyway. So that's why we said we get you on to tell us the proper version of events. I think it was your first time going to Villa Park. Was that right?
My first time in the whole end, it was.
The whole end. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the game?
Yeah, it was a late kickoff against Chelsea. They're top of the league at the time.
Did we win?
We did.
I know.
Yeah.
It was very unusual for the time for us to get a win as well, Stephen, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. 3
It
red
wasn't
cards it took.
Oh, yeah. What was the score in that game, actually?
Just 1-0.
Wasn't that night's header, no? No, that was
No,
much
it
before.
was-
That was about 2007.
Fabian Delph back heel past.
Oh,
Check.
yes. I remember that. What a goal to see from the whole end as well. Yeah. We've come up with some strange results against Chelsea. I think that's that night header. I think that was against Chelsea, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was in his first game for Villa. It could have been against Arsenal, no more did I say, but it was around 2007, 2008. But we've come up with some strange goal scorers and strange situations against the Big Four, and that's definitely one of them for me. Definitely one of them. Have you guys been to any other St. Patrick's Day games?
I don't think
in and
so.
around St. Patrick's Day?
Not that I can think of. There hasn't been too many. We generally try to go around that week because it's usually my birthday present that we get to go to a game, especially when the kids were younger. Like we've been to 3 or 4 St. Patrick's Day parades because they normally fall on whatever the nearest Sunday is to St. Patrick's Day in Birmingham. So it's a good day to get out and meet friends and get Irish people together. The Sunday either before or after, whatever way it falls. But that particular one, the Chelsea one, was Stephen's first day on the whole end. And you know, you're growing. You see the kids growing up, and they're Villa fans, and you're worried that there's always something that might come along and take them away. They're friends, we United fans. But that day, to watch him, he was like, what were you, Stephen? About 7 or 8?
Yeah, 9, I think I was.
9. Okay, and yet you spent most of the game, especially towards the end of it after we scored, standing on the seat because you couldn't see anything because everybody was dancing. And I knew that was a point I knew I was never going to lose you to any other club because you'd just been taken in by the whole thing. Is that your memory of it as well?
Yeah, because I was fond of Chelsea because blue used to be my favourite colour when I was a child. So
yeah. Can you imagine Birmingham City were doing well at the time? We'd been in awful trouble, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
James reliably informs me that we played Blues away. It was 3 days before Paddy's Day. Jack 1-0.
Oh, yeah, it was actually. Yeah, just the anniversary was just a couple of days ago. Myself and James went to the away game at the Stye. We'll call it, because I never believed how bad the place actually was until I went there. But what a magical day it turned out to be with Jack getting the punch in the back of the head, and then I tell you, we'll let James talk about it later on.
Let talk about when he comes on. But we've had some famous victories in and around St. Patrick's Day as well. And that is just another one. I was trying to rack my brains for more, but it's been a long day, as you can see by how I spelled Stephen's name. It's been a long day. You know, I can't fix it on the fly here either, which is awful embarrassing. So
Stephen, before we let you go, what of your relatively young life, you've been to Wembley 5 times. What's your favourite memory of being a Villa fan?
The promotion against Derby, I'd say it'd have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the overriding feeling there? What did you enjoy the most?
After the heartbreak of losing to Fulham the year before, it's just getting over that hill you couldn't before.
That was it, wasn't it? It was more the euphoria of and to some extent, it was just the joy of getting back to the Premier League that we missed so much. And those that are watching on YouTube can see there's a trophy there behind you, and we live for the day that the ribbons on that trophy is claret and blue. And I think if we do get claret and blue ribbons on it, we'll never take them off, will we?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Stephen, listen, thanks a million for popping on. It's great to chat to you again. Great for you to put manners on the old fella here and let him not get away with telling any lies. So listen, you're welcome anytime.
Keeps me in check.
Absolutely. Keep him in check. And the amount of times he's come on here, I'm sure, and passed off your footballing knowledge as his own on the podcast as well. You should start charging him for that.
You just have to listen more often, Neil, and call me out when I'm wrong.
Exactly. Absolutely. Stephen, great to chat to you again. Have a great St. Patrick's Day and look after the old lad.
Thanks for having me.
Up the Villa.
Good to see you. Up the Villa. Excellent. Great to see Stephen again there, Paddy. It's great to have. I was just going to say, I think he might be the youngest person we've had on the podcast, but we've had Ben on, so he's the second youngest person we've had on the podcast.
Yeah, I think he's about the same age as Ben.
Maybe so.
Right,
Yeah, I think Ben is 15 and Stephen, might be around that as well. But I hope you know what age Stephen is.
He's nearly 16.
Because if you don't know what age he is, this is going to become a very, very different type of podcast if you don't know what age he is. But we've so next up we're going to bring on somebody from our Northern Irish Aston Villa support club. We told Paul he'd be on an awful lot earlier, but our penchant for speaking and not shutting up is catching us out with the time here. So I do apologize. Paul, welcome to the podcast. Paul McCusker, how are you doing?
Hello. You've been very interesting. I liked your stories.
Paul, we have not been interested. You don't need to put us up. Myself and Patty certainly haven't been interested. I've been spelling people's names wrong. And I've been making up all this stuff. So, but I do thank you.
Yours right, Paul.
Yeah,
well, actually, my turn anyway.
I'm looking at it and I hope I did spell it right.
No, you did. Many don't, but you did.
I was just a bit worried, Paul, that you were sitting in the brown cow waiting on us and you might be drunk by the time you got here.
No. Unfortunately, I pulled a short straw. I'm working St. Paddy's Day, 6:30 in the morning. There's a 1 in 25 chance, and it's
1 in 25. Oh, God.
Driving buses around Belfast tomorrow. But I'll get a holiday back for it, hopefully for Villa Park.
Absolutely. It's something to look forward to, isn't it?
Yes, whenever it happens, I don't know. But
yeah.
Did I hear you saying you don't think you'll be over this year anyway?
Well, that's more or less what they've said. That we can take it that we won't be able to leave the country until the end of the year. I don't know whether we're not being allowed to get on a plane, because if we can go on a boat, I'll be there. But it seems to be what they've said. But look, we've just managed the vaccine so badly in the rest of Europe. Maybe you did have Brexit at the right time, Paul, and all the vaccines are coming a bit quicker for you guys. But how's life been for you with the lockdown? Because I know you've got a great bunch of lads there up in is the brown cow still going strong?
Yes, we had a big meet for the last game of the season. We stayed up in. It was a messy one. There wasn't a lockdown, but there was restricted numbers, so we couldn't really advertise it as such. But from word of mouth, we probably had 25 hardcore fans. So one of the guys who's renowned, when he goes over to Birmingham, he gets lost, doesn't come home.
I know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah, there's probably a few, We realised when the match kicked off how drunk he was. Within 10 minutes into it, he disappeared. We thought he'd went home, got a taxi. And after the celebrations at the end, he was actually sleeping in one of the cubicles. And we were throwing stuff over the cubicle to wake him. We told him Villa were relegated. And he was crying and everything in front of us. Still drunk.
Absolutely right.
Well, it does serve him right, in fairness, doesn't it?
I think by that stage we were all nearly as drunk as him. It was midnight by the time we were kicked out, so it was worth the hangover on the Monday.
Oh, absolutely. I think every Villa fan in the world had a hangover on that Monday. I think I said at the time when we were recording our podcast, I wished I was in America and the match was at 9 o'clock in the morning, so we would have had one hell of a hangover. But
or you would have had a longer sleep, Paddy. You would have had a longer sleep, probably. That's what it would have been. I remember the night before Villa played West Ham. My sister turned 30, but there was there's only a few of us had a little party at home. But you know, it had been 5 or 6 months since I had actually drank a few cans, and I watched that game, and I was in ribbons watching that game, the Villa West Ham game. And if they had, I don't know what I would have done if they got relegated. I was put it this way: the serotonin levels were low before the match ever kicked off, so the fear was kicking in and everything. So I'm just glad that they got what they needed to get and that they stayed up, because it was a ropey day as it was. Never mind if they got relegated.
It was a horrible feeling. Cameron, my wee boy, and didn't eat until that Sunday night. I think he was actually sick, the nerves, literally sick. I was actually supposed to go through TransLink a golf day down south to Slieve Russell, just in where is Slieve Russell? Isn't that wee village?
Cavan, isn't it?
It's in Cavan. I'm trying to think of the name of the wee village, but it was all paid for, and they couldn't guarantee me that it was an overnight stay that the Villa match would be on, because it was on BT. So I dropped it all, lost about €300, but I couldn't have went golfing with people and with that going on. I did think they were relegated. About 2 weeks before it, I think it was after the Everton game, I was so angry. So I was. I'm sure we all were. I thought they were gone, like, to be honest. But
yeah, I think the Everton game was a turning point for us when El Ghazi missed that opportunity to make it 2-1, wasn't it, at the time?
Yeah.
I think it would have made it 2-0 at the time. Yeah.
But that's Villa for you. Villa won't let you. Well, it was worth it in the end, but I nearly gave up on them then. I was going for this goal.
I'd like to go into a little bit about the weekender that you had up in the Brown Cow back in 2012, was it?
Yes, well, the first, we did start by having like a few players over as early as 2010, 11 and 12, with Cam McNaught, Sean Taylor, Johnny Calderwood, the groundsman.
Yeah.
Johnny was brilliant. Johnny came over, did all he could. He tried to make up a prize, a money can't buy prize, that getting someone on the pitch at half time with the pitchfork to replace a divot.
That's brilliant.
Did it work out?
Yeah, Johnny was such a genuine fella. Tried to help. Unfortunately, well, obviously Hillier had sort of touted him to go to PSG, and I think the way it happened, I think fella were looking rid of him because of his wage. To be honest, the way I'd say it, and it sort of pushed him out the door.
But it's crazy.
It happened just before the big 2013 weekend, so it's just bad timing. He just couldn't go to it. I think he sort of was sad in the end. I think he sort of fell out, and that was him off the PSG. But yes, for the 2013 one, somehow got in contact with Alan Wright. Obviously Sid Clowns came over, Sean Taylor, Cam McNaught. We nearly had, God rest his soul, but we were talking of Daly and Atkinson coming over. It just didn't happen in the end. And there was even talk of Mark Walters. We even had a phone number for Gavin McCann. Remember the midfielder?
Yeah.
But fair play to Alan Wright. I got phone numbers of different players, and he jumped at the chance. He was great crack, so he was. And was there anyone else? Tony Morley was supposed to come. He pulled out at the end. But we had a match. I think first half it was there was the rest of the world Lions team versus the Northern Ireland Lions. And I think Gordon Clowns had been up to like 3 a.m. at a Steve Bull thing. Stayed in the Clarion Hotel, 2 hours sleep, had to walk 2 miles to the pitch, and he was still man of the match, whatever age he is, I don't know, 50, in his 50s. But it was some experience. Ken McNutt, he scared me. I was in defence, and he growled at me a few times.
He's a big man.
And one of the great bar players kicked someone, and the referee wasn't dealing with it, and Ken came over to him, was about to punch him, I think. So,
well, have it stay hard.
Saw Ken a different man that day. You could see the warrior he must have been back in the 80s.
So you wouldn't have crossed him when he was on the pitch. Another guy you wouldn't have crossed. You've struck up a great friendship with Sean Teal since then, haven't you?
Yes, Sean actually had. Sean came over before. He had a really bad back injury. I think he told me at the time it might have been broken for years, and it came back or something. And I think the first trip he came over with us before then, he was on a walking stick. And I don't know if you were over at our last event, Paddy, but he was actually playing. And I think he maybe had an operation. But he was doing manager that day in the 2013 event. Him and Carol, his wife, and that was a great night. We've had a marquee out the back and several bars, several discos, and it was great. I think Sid Cowan's was the last man to leave.
I think we're saying, Paul, we need to do another one.
It's amazing what a marquee will do for a fella with a broken back, isn't it? If you're saying Sean Teal had a broken back, it's amazing what a marquee full of drink will do. You know, Lazarus like recovery stuff. Yeah, a man after my own heart.
He is. Now, obviously, he didn't play that year, but 2 years later he played. But it'd be great to have a fella came over back to Dublin or something to try and get something similar.
It's long overdue, as we were saying earlier on. But you know, I definitely think you should put that Brown Cow. Sorry for those who are listening. The Brown Cow is the name of the pub. To put that weekend back in the calendar and get a few players over. I know the one I went and there wasn't any players there, but we had a great weekend and it was good fun.
Yes, it was quite low key compared to the main one, but a bit more friendship, people meeting, I suppose. But yes, I think Sean had to pull out the last minute. Carl wasn't well, but we'll get another one. But I must admit, I enjoyed the Dublin one more because I didn't have to organise it.
Yeah, it's always the way as well, isn't it?
Yeah, when was it?
There's less responsibility there.
Was it 2014? Was it the last one?
Yeah, I think it was 13 or 14. There it was. Benteke was playing anyway.
Yes, he was.
We just had Philip. Philip has just told us there, August 2013.
Yeah, was it? Oh, right. It was only 2 months after I mean, event then. Yes, I remember getting the tram out to Tala.
That was some experience in itself, wasn't it, on that tram?
Oh, it was brilliant. Brilliant. And the bar was
being like sardines.
Yeah, and then obviously Paul McGrath. That capped the whole day off. We just about got to see him before our bus came to take us home.
Well, but at least you got that much anyway. Yeah, that was my one input from that weekend was to book Paul McGrath and look after him, and I was stone cold sober that night, was watching out for him because you're always going to get some kind of messer, which we did a couple on the night. But Paul was great. Yeah. He was only supposed to stay for an hour or two, and he stayed for 3 hours or something. Philip will tell us that later on, but the magic night really was.
I saw him doing an advert for a chip. Was it curry chip?
Yeah, it's gorgeous stuff.
It looks good. Fantastic. I saw it. I was thinking about him.
I had it recently. It's amazing. Yeah. And actually, I would never in my life have bought it, only for the fact that Paul McGrath was flogging it on TV. And that is a fact because I never would have picked it up. But it's absolutely brilliant. Chef, if you're out there and you need someone else to sponsor your curry sauce, I've enough of it eaten now at this stage. I can tell you that it is fantastic. Absolutely.
They can come along and sponsor the podcast for sure.
Yeah, yep, we'll buy all the curry sauce he wants. We'll meet him.
Absolutely. Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for hanging on for us there, even in our tardy state. But I haven't been up to the Brown Cow any of those weekends. But Paddy, I'm definitely going to be putting it in my jotter now, making sure that once we can get out and about again, sounds like some crack.
We all will. We'll all go up and
yes, so I'm looking forward to it. Just a quick one before I go. You were talking about Steve Staunton. I was at the game at Old Trafford. I was only 11 when he scored. It was the 30th. It must have been. It was it. Well, I think it was the 30th anniversary of it a couple of days ago, or 29th. It must have been. It was 90.
Yeah,
it was March
28. I think 28 years ago. Yeah.
28. I was 12. But yes, that was some. I was right behind it with the Man United fans. Unfortunately, I got up and cheered. My uncle nearly got.
That means you have a big birthday coming up, Paul. Do you?
Just had it.
You just had it. Oh, yeah. I have a big one this week too. I'm 30 this week. Looking forward
30?
to
it. Oh, enjoy. Well, thanks for
coming
having
on,
me.
Paul. Great to see you. Regards to the family. See you soon.
Yeah, same to you. Thanks, bye.
Thanks for being, Paul. That sounds like a great day above in the Brown Cow, as I say. That's definitely one to pencil into the diary for sure.
I totally get what he's saying though about the responsibility, because Paul's family run the pub. Well, they did run the pub when I went up, and I can only imagine the pressure that he was under between the barbecue and the players and everything else. So, but
the players,
if he does have one again, it's definitely worth a visit.
Yeah, and I suppose also as well, the fact if your family do run the pub or whatever, you're trying to make sure that no one's acting the kind of the mick either as well. So there's lots of different hats to be wearing in that aspect there. So that's absolutely fantastic. So we'll bring on our last two guests. Let's do it. Let's bring them on. This is going to be a feat of engineering I have not done before, because I don't know in what order to bring the two boys on. So let's just see. So the two lads we're going to bring on are going to be Philip and James. So firstly, Philip, and next time we've got James, we're going to bring you in. Oh no, I knew that was going to happen. There's no exact science to this. It's a good thing I'm not embarrassed. I don't embarrass easy.
There we go.
There we go. We've got Philip and James. How are you doing, lads?
I won't be offended, Philip. You're not offended.
No. Sure, we've probably been taken for each other many a time before anyway.
Yeah. As I said to Stephen, you've been called worse.
Oh God.
So
Happy Patrick's Day.
What we effectively have here now, Neil, is the four corners of Ireland covered here with the engine room of the Irish Lions. So great to have you on, guys. I know Philip has been on a few times, but great to finally have you on, James.
Thanks. I've had to wait a long time for an invitation.
That's what lockdown will do.
We don't just have any old riffraff on this podcast, you have to wait your turn.
I'm surprised. It's been so long since I've seen Steve, and I think his voice is broke. Lockdown, he looks about 18 now, So it's a good year. It's a year actually since we've met up.
Well, that's it. The last time we were all together was at Wembley, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Stephen has 2 kids and everything since you saw him last time. Married, 2 kids. Yeah. And his 4th job. Yeah. That time isn't long gone.
See it.
But you guys were I'll start my English again. Obviously above and buskers there in Dublin, Philip, with a lot of the meetups that you guys have, and you had a couple when we were just about tiptoeing back into normality there around June or July. Didn't you guys have a couple of meetups there? So you guys aren't as far removed from the whole meetup situation as some of the rest of us. Am I right in saying that?
Well, I think we had 1 or 2 that they were open for, but due to restrictions I had myself, I wasn't able to go in for them, and I don't think James did either. So no, we're as we say, myself, James, pretty much chat daily about everything under the sun, and a good bit of it in there when it's happening. But it's been March since we were last at a game and for the Wembley final, and then the worst one was the Spurs game a week before, was it, or was it 2 weeks before as well? So that was the last time at Villa Park, and that Engels miscue and Son's last minute winner.
Yeah. And that's pretty topical because we've got Spurs coming up this weekend as well. We won't have Engels most likely on the field, and we won't have Son on the field either. So, we're not going to see a repeat of what happened in that game, I don't think, this coming weekend. What's the feeling, I suppose, for the game this weekend? What do you guys think? What do you think, James? Obviously they are missing Son. They're going to be missing Lamela, who came in for Son when he went off, but they're obviously a dangerous team this weekend. What's your gut feeling for the game coming up?
I never fancy us against Spurs. I'm always fearing Harry Kane, but Son, I don't think under Mourinho has been as people that argue has been as good. But maybe I'm wrong on that one. But we've responded well every time we've played a bad game this year. And Newcastle was the last few games have been great, but I don't think we've lost. Well, we didn't lose against Newcastle, but it felt like a loss. But we've always won or drawn after we've played pretty bad. So, it could be another draw, but it's, I'm not sure. That game last year against Spurs was a heartbreaker because you were talking about kids going to games. My young lad Leo, he's 7 now, so he's only starting off, and he's been to his first game was the Sheffield Wednesday, where McGinn scored, and he's been to 4 games in the Premier League, and they haven't won one yet. So he's Spurs. He was at Spurs last year. That broke my heart as much as him. And he was at Leicester at home as well. Do you remember that one? That was, the one against Spurs was a killer because the minute I seen Engels miss that ball, I put my head down when I seen Son bursting through because I knew what was coming. I just knew. I didn't even see the goal because I put my head down. But we got to be optimistic. We're 10 times better this year, so I do prefer us playing away from home, to be honest, than at Villa Park. I find we find it hard to break down a lot of teams, and that's been going on for years. But I'll let Phil have a word because you'll never get me off here. But keep talking.
I think it's like the way we've played the last few weeks. If you just look at Villa and historically, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't go and win it, especially if we have Jack back or anything like that, because that's it. The games you expect to win, we haven't won. And then the games you don't give ourselves a hope with, like Liverpool or whatever, we've gone and won. So who knows,
Very hard to predict. If you're a betting man, most people don't bet on the team they love anyway, but if you were, you can't go near it because you don't know from week to week. We'd form at the start of the season, but then we win, lose, draw. There was a run of about 6 or 8 games where it was win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. So,
pretty much turn of the year.
It's 10 times better than you see the people on Facebook moaning, and we all get frustrated. And some nights myself, Paddy and Phil are still texting at midnight, frustrated and can't sleep over results. But isn't it 10 times better being 7th that we were last year, 17th, 18th, like hanging on, gone in our heads? Like I remember after the Man United defeat last season, I'd given up. I was in tears, literally in tears. With obviously there was drink involved, and I remember texting the guys saying we're done, we're back to the championship, and my poor kid was as upset as I was because I was trying to tell him we're going to stay up, and if they drop to the championship, he's at that age group where, as Paddy was talking earlier, we'd lose him. He'd be eaten up by his friends who are all Liverpool or Man City or this, that, and the other. But now he's 10 times worse than me, and he reminds me of Phil and Paddy because he's telling me. He's 7, and he's telling me the under 23s were playing the other day, and I don't tend to be looking at the under 23s. So my 7-year-old son is telling me and names on the under 23s and everything. So it's brilliant,
You can probably pronounce them better than we can anyway.
Absolutely. Shy. Trying to pronounce some of them is a bit of a chore in itself. And James, you said if you were a betting man, there's a certain man on this podcast that had Ollie Watkins have a headed shot on target. So maybe there are people that do bet on the team that they love. But he won. Isn't that right, Paddy? You won.
I did.
So
I did.
They paid out anyway.
Conor Houraghan for the first goal at the weekend as well. So
that's all right.
maybe I'll put a few quid on us beating Jose, because there's nothing better than beating Jose. And I was talking to Stephen earlier on about that game, refreshing his mind. There was a song that was sung to Jose after he was sent off, and it was quite fun. And I think it was the first time Stephen had heard a song at a match that involved a lot of coursing. So
first of many.
First of many, exactly. Yeah, but James, or we'll touch on the game that you mentioned earlier on in the comments about the Birmingham City game, which was 2 years ago last weekend. I had completely forgotten it was so close to Paddy's Day. It was a great day, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I had to look into. The lads know me being a bit strange of a spreadsheet of every game I've ever went to, so I was able to look up the date, who scored, and it was I think it was the 11th or the 12th of March. But I don't tend to go to many away games. Like, I've been to 60 odd games, and there've been about 5 in Wembley, 50 odd in Villa Park, and then I've only been to Wolverhampton and Birmingham away. So Birmingham away, though, we always talk about your best games you've ever went to. Just the way, obviously the playoff final was unbelievable. The semi-final against Liverpool in the FA Cup a few years back, amazing. But Birmingham away, there was you could have went either way that game. And then your man running on hitting Jack, but then Jack to score the winner in front of us. Like,
yeah,
we were falling on top of each other. It was unbelievable celebrations. And then I kind of just knew writing was on the wall that day that we'd hold on. It was one of them magic days. They come along and you're there. We talked about Spurs 3-2 and how heartbreaking that was, but don't even themselves out kind of over time, like Birmingham away.
Yeah, for some clubs they even out a bit quicker than others, though. And I think Aston Villa, in fairness, we've been waiting for a while for these to even out, and I think finally getting vindication against teams like Liverpool, Arsenal, the bigger teams this year, and still some games left to come. That why we could get one over on the likes of Man United, maybe literally the old enemy in United that we can never seem to get over. But you're right that they do tend to even themselves out. But for some clubs, the evening of the seems to come some quicker than others. But
we're a strange bunch of Villa fans we are, because we enjoy the moments when they do come along. We really enjoy them and appreciate them, and we don't go on melting on about it for forever. But we really, when they do big games come along, we win them. It's something special about that. Where other clubs, they just expect to win, or they a couple of League Cups we've won in the 90s, like, they're very special to Villa fans, and they cherish them. Where Man City can't even fill Wembley for a League Cup final. Teams, they don't appreciate stuff like that. But we're a very proud club, and I think all of us are very. When the big games come along, we win them, and like, we're talking about days you remember. Biggest thing, I think Stephen said his best day ever was the playoff final against Derby. Yeah, I think it's probably the biggest. We've seen us play Man United. We've seen us win League Cups, being there. But that match was probably the biggest, because if we'd lost that, we could have been stuck in the Championship for a long time more. That was very
yeah.
Well, we could have been in administration
3 years ago. Sorry.
The word I was searching for when we were talking to Stephen was relief, because that was the overriding emotion on the day, to just the euphoria, and then you're walking out going, we're back in the Premier League. The relief, it's just like, you've got a snake around your shoulders, and you just, it's off. We're back in the Premier League. We're back where we belong.
I'll throw Phil onto this one. Was the West Ham game last year, though, a bigger game than the playoff game? Because if we'd gone down after coming back up, the relief of that was.
The relief, I don't think it was for me. The relief was bigger at Wembley, for the second playoff final, because the first one we didn't turn up. Unfortunately for me, I missed the John McGinn goal being in the first end. because it was a pile on. Someone jumped up with the first goal that was scored, and rows of people ended up on top of myself and my young lad Nathan. So we just heard the roar, and because of the first aid area was in our area of the ground, I knew we must have scored again. So we kind of got out for the last couple of minutes, but definitely it was relief. As you say, I had Nathan with me, and we were staying in the same hotel, James, and it was just the fact to going back to the hotel, watching everyone go back on trains or wait for trains, and that was it. It was palpable. There was a collective deep sigh that we'd finally got there, because in fairness, if it wasn't for that 10-game winning run after Jack came back from his injury, it might have been a year or two. It was a year ahead of expectation, but it just was. Like I say, that's the great thing. We've been at so many good games for memorable reasons. We've been at disheartening ones, but that's it. The love is still there. Whatever it's going on, as I say, the three of us were there with our kids for the John McGinn goal. Like, I think I was the season before, a couple of seasons before, I was right behind the goal in the Holt End when Kodja scored the laser kick, but it was nothing compared to that one off from McGinn. And even the was it the Burnley game the other week or something that he ball kept on coming out to him a couple of times, and we weren't getting many chances. He was trying to recreate it every few minutes, and you go, I've no problem with him trying it. He's done it before, so why not? You know.
I think what you said there, James, about was the bigger relief staying in the Premier League or going up. I think if we'd have gone down last year, we probably would have been in a better position to come straight back up with the team that we had built. So for me, it's definitely that playoff final was a bigger relief. While I absolutely dreaded going down last season, I think we were much more equipped to come back up, especially with our new owners and the opportunity to spend a bit of that. Because regardless of whether we bounce back up, we still would have got the parachute payments as well. So that would have all went back into players. So it actually would have been very interesting to see. And, you know, we spoke recently, you actually missed that championship style football. When
balls against Nottingham Forest and 3-3s and it was down there.
To some extent, the Premier League has been kind of like that this year, up until recently, where it's kind of just calmed down a bit, and there's a lot more draws and 1-alls and 2-1s. You know, you're not getting the 7-2s or, you know, those kind of results. So I've really enjoyed the Premier League this year for that reason. But that's just my opinion on if we'd have gone down. I think we might have been better equipped to come back up. But I take what you say, Philip.
We might have lost Jack if we'd gone. Yeah, we might have lost Jack if we'd gone down. But that would be it. But as I say, we certainly would have been a lot better equipped to come back up. Realistically, we would have been better equipped than when we played Derby in the playoff final. So that was that was one of the possibilities. But like even a couple of weeks ago, there was 5 matches on the Sunday, and they were all won by the away team in the Premier League. I don't think anyone can remember when that happened before, and the odds on that happening is minuscule, you know. But
absolutely,
it's a very strange season. Apart from City running away with it now, it's just very strange. You can't really predict any results, and like you say, you look at Fulham a few years ago, they were gone, and they're back in the hunt again and to stay up.
Interesting statistic last night. If Liverpool had lost to Wolves, they would have been dethroned last night, because they actually couldn't have caught Man City with the amount of games left already.
It's mad, isn't it?
It's not the best defense. And then I had the best quote was, "We broke Liverpool. They haven't recovered." I don't know who said it, but it was brilliant. So, you know.
Well, that's it. And people are going, oh, well, sure, look at that performance against Villa, and sure, Liverpool haven't been right since Van Dijk got injured, and going, they had Van Dijk. Yeah. Jack put it through Van Dijk's legs, you know. He was there. They had a full squad that day, you know. That's why we should cherish that.
I'm not accepting that one anyway. I think Pickford broke Liverpool. We'll move on.
Supposedly Ollie Watkins is disgusted he didn't get 5 in that game. He still has it in the back of his head that he only got the perfect hat trick, you know.
and I love him for it. I love him for that. That's the attitude, you know. Like he's in the post more than all but it's 7 teams in Europe in the top league. He's hit the post more than all but 7 teams, and that. But like he's getting close, and he puts in a hell of a shift. Like how he can run around. I haven't looked at his mileage, but how he can run around that much every single game, I don't know.
He hasn't missed a minute. He hasn't been subbed off yet, and he's played every single minute, I believe. But I always, probably the lads will say I change. I'm a glass half full and then I'm a glass half empty. Depends what day it is. And I remember, you might not remember this. I asked you at the start of the season, should we have went for Callum Wilson instead of Ollie Watkins? And you were like, no, you know, stick with Ollie. Like this, I think it must have been before the Uphill game. Maybe it was 3 games in and he hadn't scored, and Wilson might have had a couple. And how glad I'm delighted we went for Ollie. You know, even Callum Wilson's he's injured, but he's done well for Newcastle, but not half as well, or the work rate you see that Ollie does. You know, the assists he's got, the goals he's got, and as Phil said there, 7 of them goals, even if 4 of them went in, that hit the woodwork, he'd be up on 10, 12, 13 goals now or something like that, whatever he is.
So we were talking the other day and how many we thought we'd get. And I said that I wouldn't be surprised. I think he's on 11. I said I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't get the 20.
Yeah.
Purely and simply because he can have another game. He can have another couple of games like that where he bags a hat-trick. Like he's not scoring every single game, so there is the chance. And Dean Smith summed it up perfectly the other day. They were talking about the system and that, and we defend from Ollie backwards. Ollie's always putting the pressure on the keeper, always putting the pressure on the central defenders, and that gives us time to get our shape sorted behind him before the ball has a chance of getting in. And it's no wonder, like, where have we gone? We got probably 12 games left or something like that. We're 15 points better off than we were last year. I don't know whether we're mathematically safe yet, but we're not going to get relegated this season. And like I say, I certainly would have happily taken 10th to 12th this season, but it looks like we'll finish a bit higher than that.
Yeah, I think we'll finish. It could be anywhere from 7 to 12. So if it's 9, where we kind of keep getting stuck in 9th position, you know, we had a chance tonight to leapfrog Liverpool for a little while anyway, and then we got pulled back again. But you know, it's we have to, as fans, we get annoyed and stuff, and when the results don't go the way we think, but we have to be realistically, from last year to finish 9th or 10th or this year, it's a massive step forward, massive. And that's basically with one striker. We don't for Ollie. It'd be great if Wesley even got the last 10 games in, where he could give 10 minutes at the end of a game or something like that, you know, because Wesley is just, or Ollie, I don't know, if he keeps running at that level, will he survive the season without picking something up, you know?
Well, that's it. You see very few teams leaving their striker on for 90 minutes. And if they do, it's down to pure necessity, you know. Like you look at things like Louis Barry's just back from injury now and that, so he might get a chance to get in the squad. It's a bit hard that having only Keenan Davis as our backup, and he puts in a shift and he tries his best. But I think it's 50 games or something since he scored in it and that. So it's like he seems to pop them up in the League Cup all right, but can't get them in the league. But and to be honest, it's a shame we couldn't get Callum Wilson as well as Ollie or that, but I'd say another striker definitely has to be on the shopping list for the summer anyway.
I'd say so too.
Absolutely.
We're having great chats on WhatsApp about, would imagine, like, Tammy seems to be frozen out at Chelsea, and he's a bit of a low for Villa looked after him, and you know, imagine next year we had Ollie, Tammy and Wesley fit, you know, his options. You know, keeping them happy is another thing. You want to be staying in cups and challenging for, you know, 5th upwards if you've them 3 guys in your team. But if you can get those 3 guys playing, and we were talking again about maybe bolstering the midfield a little bit more, you know, you never know.
But I think that comes down to the culture of the club again, and it's been spoken before about that we're looking to bring in players who match the culture of the club, that can understand that, listen, this isn't the game for you, or these guys have played into their place, you have to wait for your chance and that. And like our two strikers that we currently have now, that Tammy's with us in that as well, so he clearly knows that as well. So it could well be a safer option rather than going for someone else, who might have a better proven record.
I don't think it's a case of keeping all three strikers happy. I think it's a case of keeping the fan base happy, because if you have three strikers like that, and let's just say the goals dry up from somewhere.
Oh yeah,
that's always the case with us Villa fans. So some people you can win 1-0, and people will be pessimistic about winning 1-0. So
yeah, well, look, I always go back to the 140-year video when David Bradley says the lows make the highs higher, and I agree with that sentiment for Villa fans, because we just have the most unbelievable days when we have the high days. So we just got to enjoy them, and hopefully there'll be many more of them. If not this season, definitely next season.
My daughter Zoe, who at the start went to a few games, but she's lost a bit of interest now. She's 11, but the video you're talking about there, Paddy, the 140 years, she says to Leo, "Oh, Daddy's watching that video again that makes him cry."
It makes him cry.
Every time I watch that video, sober or with a couple of drinks on board, I swear to God, it makes me bloody cry.
James,
but
James,
it was
can I ask you a question? Do you have a wedding video?
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
I was just about to say it. Yeah.
And my wife Anita, she doesn't get it at all. Like I used to drag her to games before the kids were born, and I think one season she went to 5 games with me. Like, fair play to her. She doesn't get it. She won't watch a match on TV, but she'll go to a match in the stadium and enjoy it. She doesn't get the passion thing. She doesn't understand, like, what are you crying about? What are you shouting at the TV for? What do you this then? But we're all different, I guess.
Exactly.
She's delighted now at Leo to bring anyway, so that's the main thing.
She's off the hook. Guys, thanks a million. Thanks so much for coming on. My computer is roaring at me here. I froze there a moment ago, and I'm just terrified that I lose you guys and it would be an abrupt end to the podcast. Before we do leave it, though, I know that, Philip, I saw that you guys have the newest Irish Lions shirt is back on sale through O'Neill's again, isn't it? There's limited run.
We didn't have the capacity and the time to do a third batch, because we sold about 250 in the first 2 batches. Wow. There's a lot of work goes into the admin and the posting and packaging and all that of James. James designed the gorgeous jersey, so he gets the credit yet again for that, and all our other ones he's done. So we spoke to O'Neill's, and O'Neill's have basically set up a club shop. So if you just go to our Facebook or Twitter, so Twitter or Facebook /AVFC Irish Lions, all one word, and the links are up there anyway, so people can buy direct. Anyone's got any queries about postage or anything like that, O'Neill's thing at all, just get in contact with them, and they'll help you with sizing, etc.
Excellent. That's fantastic, because I know that, like, even I wore on the Villa View recently as well, and I know I got some private messages as well saying I gotta have that shirt. And there's a lot of people out there that collect shirts, so even from that point of view, it's fantastic. I'm sure it'll be absolutely brilliantly and very well received. Thanks very much, guys, for coming on. I hope both of you have a fantastic St. Patrick's Day. And as I say, you're welcome on anytime.
Cheers.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye, lads.
That was excellent. It's great to talk to the two guys again there, as I say, and it's great. It's great to get those little nuggets that James cries when he watches the 140-year video. Like, where else would you find this cutting edge news? In the Aston Villa's Twitter sphere here. Only here on For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast.
I think, Neil, you may have broken your Christmas record of having the longest podcast in history, but there you go.
Oh, do you know what? I wouldn't change it for a world. I'm only looking at the timer now, and it's I don't care, because I've had such a good time chatting to people, today, and it's been great fun. Tomorrow, we're pre-recording this, and it's going to go out on St. Patrick's Day, which is tomorrow, and I hope that a lot of people that look into it, that maybe are Villa fans that don't even know that there are Villa supporters clubs in and around their areas, and can at least get to know them and get familiarized themselves and join the club. I'm here in Galway. Get in contact with me if you want to join our club here in Galway. Paddy's looking after the Munster side of things. Philip, James are in Leinster. You've got Diarmuid and Longford for anywhere in around the Midlands, and you have Paul there above in Northern Ireland as well for the Northern Irish fan club. So please, we don't just do this to say it's going to be a great night out in the boozer or whatever. It's a bit more than that. Like this podcast has gotten me through lockdown. I know it's gotten Paddy through lockdown, and I know that a lot of people have messaged me saying even listening to the podcast has gotten them through lockdown, and that means an awful lot. But it's all about the Villa family, and there's a big family here in Ireland. It's probably even more of a silent family here as well that we don't even know about. So if there is anybody out there that is interested in getting involved with any of those clubs or even just becoming a member, absolutely delighted to have you guys, because the more the merrier for sure. So in that's going to end the St. Patrick's Day podcast, and to be honest with you, over the last few years, it's kind of been very almost like a kind of a St. Patrick's Day team Aston Villa has had, because we banished the snakes from the club, previously, just in the last few years. And now we've got our pot of gold with our newest owners that are going to hopefully take us to their promised land. And so things are looking up, as you say, and there are good days to come. This has been a fantastic season. It's not over yet. So, as always, guys, thanks everybody for listening or for watching this. Thanks a million to Paddy. Thanks a million to everybody who came on. To Stephen, the heir to the throne. To Paul from the Northern Ireland Supporters Club, Diarmuid from Longford, to Kevin from Boston, to Kieran of B6 Ben fame and Dog Walk Karaoke fame himself, to Philip and James from the AVFC Irish Supporters Club above there in Leinster as well. Check out their jerseys, and check out the jersey that is now going to be going on sale directly through O'Neill's as well. That's fantastic, which was done in conjunction with the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland as well. Really, really nice shirt. If anybody hasn't got one, they are back on sale again. So thank you very much to everybody who came on to the podcast tonight. Thank you very much to you, Paddy. You've been fantastic. You've been great. And whereas I've tried to get to grips with the new technology that we're using here, we'll see. So next time I see any spelling mistake on Sky or anything like that, I'll be less likely to have a crack off them because it's a lot more difficult than it looks. But as always, thanks a million to everybody for watching. Have a great St. Patrick's Day. Láfila Padraig Hunna dit, I think is how you say it in Irish. I'm sure someone
or to try anyway.
It was worth a try indeed. Yeah. But have a great St. Patrick's Day, everybody, and we'll be back to you guys with Spurs preview. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.